We just came off the practice field and we have some good news.
We do.
The Eagles are getting healthier for this big game. It's exciting.
Best possible news.
Yeah, really. And we'll get into all that. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Continuation of Cowboys week. Big game on Sunday night leading into the bye week. We'll break down that game. We want to talk about Jordan Davis a little bit, really coming into his own the last couple weeks. And then you're writing a piece about Cowboy killers, Rube, from the past. And we want to hear about some of those guys. But
present. It may be
some present. Okay. Well, I get it. Yeah.
But they're all from,
Sure. Everything's in the area.
Well, let's start with injuries because Dave is feeling good, right? You're healthy?
I'm healthy.
I'm healthy.
We're both healthy. More importantly, Jordan Mailata is getting healthy. Jason Kelsey is getting healthy. Landon Dickerson getting healthy. Isaac Seumalo getting healthy. All
and
four.
Maddox.
Oh, yes, but all four offensive linemen back on the practice field.
Very good sign, especially considering who's coming to town Sunday night. So you can get by against the Jaguars or against the, who they play Sunday,
Cardinals.
the Cards, with a patchwork O-line, and I'm sure these guys would give you everything they have against Dallas. But yeah, you want Jordan Mailata out there. You want Kelsey, obviously. You want Landon and Seumalo. So it looks like the O-line might be intact. Now, whether all these guys are 100%, I don't think Jordan will be, but I expect to see him out there.
Yeah, he had a big brace on his right shoulder today. I mean, I'm surprised they even make braces that big. But he's figuring out how to play with it the way it is. And
it's probably someone else's leg brace.
It might be. He's just such a big dude. But he has that thing on, and hopefully that gives him the support he needs to play because they need him in this one.
Yeah, they do. Jack Driscoll is going to give you everything he has, but let's be honest, with Micah Parsons coming to town, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Dorrance Armstrong Jr., you want to be 100% or you're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, definitely. And aside from those guys, you mentioned Devontae Maddox practicing again, Jake Elliott practicing again, Patrick Johnson, even Josh Jobe. Everyone who was on the injury report Wednesday was back out there on Thursday.
Josh Jobe is he plays a lot of special teams.
Everyone helps.
I think he's third on the team in special team snaps, so that's big.
Gainwell too, Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah.
With that riband.
And Boston Scott's fine.
He's off the injury report. He'll play.
He's totally off the injury report. So, considering everything, they're in good shape. And I'll tell you what, we talked about this last year a lot more than this year, but I think all of this is vindication for the way Nick runs his training camp, the way he runs. I think it's 3 weeks in a row now. They've had a walkthrough on Wednesday, and the first one was because it was a Monday night game. But the last 2 weeks, it's been a Sunday game, and it's just kind of his feel for what they need. So you're talking about the practice week is basically a walkthrough on Wednesday. Thursday is a full practice. They're out there a couple hours, less than a couple hours, hour and a half. And Friday, where they practice about an hour and 10 minutes.
Short on Friday.
Yeah. Friday would be at the link, I assume. And that's practice week. And then they run around. The Saturday walkthrough is not a full walkthrough. It's kind of it's half speed for a walkthrough. So
yeah, that's very mental.
Yeah, that's mental rep. So, I mean, they're on the practice field. They have like youth football practice at the rec fields near my house where I go running or go walking, and they practice the little kids, like the little 7-year-olds practice more than the Eagles do.
Yeah, but they need it. The Eagles are pretty good. They made it to the NFL,
These
right?
kids are good, man. You should see these little 8-year-olds run around and make plays. They get after it, Dave. But it's just striking to me, and it works. I mean, this team is physically ready. They're mentally ready. It's an extreme, but it works for this team.
Mm-hmm. Want to get into matchups for this game?
Let's do that.
I mean, I think the place we have to start is what we just talked about. This offensive line against that defensive line, it's really strength versus strength. And we saw last week the Arizona Cardinals blitz so much, and that's their MO. That's what they do. There are a few teams like that. Tampa Bay blitzes a ton. The Cowboys don't. And, I mean, they don't need to. That's the thing. They don't need to blitz to get pressure because they have monsters up front, and they run a lot of games. They stun and twist, and They'll confuse you, which is another reason why you want your starters out there, the guys who have played together the most. You don't want Jack Driscoll and Sewell Petta out there trying to figure out these games because they're going to struggle with it. It's a big deal to have your starters back in this game because, man, that Dallas line is good. DeMarcus Lawrence has turned back the clock. I didn't think he was done, but I didn't think he had this level of football left in it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And the other thing about, these guys, you want guys who've played against Dan Quinn defense and guys who have, know what to look for.
I'll give Dan Quinn credit though. He's changed a lot, and that defense it's a lot different than what we think of as like from that Seattle tree. Like he's changed a lot defensively.
Yeah, no doubt. And the injured guys we mentioned, like there's no lock they're going to play. I mean, guys have setbacks. Guys, don't all heal at the same rate, but it looks promising. It looks like the Eagles will be at full strength on the O-line. And the thing about Parsons is that's where I think mental preparation is so important because he's in a different place every snap.
Yeah, they move him all over.
But he's such a good pass rusher. And
that's the thing. He's a good linebacker, but if I'm an offensive coordinator and I see him at linebacker, I'm happy about it. Yeah, there's definitely relief.
Yeah, and that was really nobody really knew. I think that was the unknown. I mean, about his game coming out was I don't think anyone realized what a good pass rusher he was going to be.
He's a legitimate all-pro at two positions.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And the reason you play him as a pass rusher is because that's more valuable.
12th pick in last year's draft.
He has 6 sacks already. He has 2 in 3 games.
He's got 19 sacks.
2 sacks each in 3 games.
He's got 19 sacks in 21 career games.
He gets after. I mean, they move him all over.
And 4 forced fumbles.
Mm-hmm. He's a playmaker. And he's coming off Defensive Player of the Week award. Very good game. A game where he got hurt and he still came back and called game on the last play.
Yeah.
They'll play him on both sides. So Mailata will see a little bit of him. It seems though like he likes rushing on Lane's side a little bit more on the left side of the defense. So Lane's anticipating seeing a lot of Parsons.
It's going to be interesting to see how they use him, how the Eagles try to neutralize him. It's going to be.
But they flip sides too. So you'll have moments where Lane will be on Parsons, and you'll have moments where Mailata will be on him, and Lawrence will obviously flip. And Dorrance Armstrong, really good player too.
Yeah. I mean, they have 3 legit. I think all 3 of them have at least 4. So I guess Lawrence has 3. I think 3 sacks. They have.
But he's still really good.
Yeah. And it's not just the O-line. I mean, it's going to be a challenge for Jalen too to hang on to the ball, make good decisions, make quick decisions, get rid of the ball. If throw it away. He's been pretty good about that. If you're in trouble, don't take that. Because when these guys sack you, it's for like 17 yards. It's like 6 yard sacks.
It's like, so last week we saw their answer to the blitz was to toss it out in the flat on screens. Well, if they're only bringing 4, do the math here. That's more guys in coverage. So now it's like might not have the easy answer. So it's in a way there's like more on Jalen in a game like this where it's not just get rid of it to Devontae or Dallas in the flat and the play is over for you. Like you might have to escape a little bit. You might have to look downfield on occasion, at least more than they did last week for sure.
Here's an interesting thing. Parsons already has 19 sacks in 21 games. Mm-hmm. Only 3 linebackers in Eagles history have 19 sacks.
Yeah.
And, and that's Seth Joyner, William Thomas, and Connor Barwin, who wasn't, he was really an edge rusher.
Well, to be fair, Parsons isn't really a linebacker.
Well, he certainly covers more than Connor did.
Yeah.
And does other things, plays the run. Connor played the run. But anyway, it's a challenge. He's a game wrecker. And, I mean, they really have stars on every level of that defense. Mm-hmm. They have.
Let's talk about the next one.
Yeah.
Who, Trevon Diggs is an interesting player because he was an all-pro last year. He had 11 interceptions. You really watch him, though, and you're like, well, was he an all-pro player? He gave up a ton. He's a gambler.
Yeah.
He's a fun player to watch, and you can beat him, but he can beat you. there's not a lot of in between with
No,
this
it's all
dude.
or nothing with him.
Yeah, which is like it's fun to watch, but it's scary if you're going against him too.
And it's scary if you're if you're him or if you're a Cowboys defensive coach, because he's going to jump routes and he's not going to jump the right way all the time. But he's such a threat. Picks are down a little bit. He had 11 last year, 2 this year.
Well, they're going to be down.
That's still a lot. 11's like a ridiculous number. It kind of reminds you of like Lito, but obviously better. But I mean, Lito was an all-pro as well. So, but that kind of player, Lito was always jumping routes, taking risks, measured risks, but risks. And Diggs is the same way, but he really does it to an extreme.
He does, and you have to be aware of him. Like overall, last year, I don't think he deserves being an all-pro. I get why he was. 11 sacks is crazy. He's not an all-pro player, but he. Yeah. What did I say?
Sacks.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. Interceptions. It's a lot. I think Slay's a better player. I think AJ Terrell's a better player. If I'm looking at last year, like who deserved the nod over him, but I get why he was. He's still a good player. Like I think people have like devalued him so much that they think he stinks, and that's not true either. Like he's dangerous. Those 11 picks, yes, some of them were fluky, but they didn't happen on accident.
Yeah, and I mean, takeaways are the lifeblood of any defense. So you can live with. I mean, last year I think he gave up the most yards in the league, as well as the most picks in the league. But those takeaways are, a lot of coaches will be like, I'll take that exchange. I'll take those takeaways, which lead to a short field and touchdowns in exchange for giving up some yards.
Yeah,
that's going to be a great matchup. And he stays on the right side.
Yeah.
So we'll see him on both Eagles receivers.
Unless they travel him in this one, which they don't really seem to do. It's more like line up and play.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they could travel him on, but on who? I mean,
I don't think they will.
Yeah.
On the other side, though, the next matchup, I think they will travel Darius Slay on CeeDee Lamb, who has 50 targets.
That's a crazy
already.
Number. Yeah.
Only 28 catches, but 50 targets. They're trying to get this dude the football.
And it makes sense. I mean, they're a little, kind of thin at wide receiver.
Which is crazy because, I mean, they had Amari Cooper. They had, they were legitimately 4 deep last
Cedric Wilson
when they were
killed
healthy.
The Eagles in that, meaningless game. But where's he now with the
Dolphins? Florida.
Yeah, somewhere down there.
We saw him. Was that during
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Okay. Yeah, Dolphins.
Dolphins, yeah. He only has 4 catches for 40 yards this year.
Yeah. But they went from having Amari Cooper, Gallup, Wilson, CeeDee, and I know Gallup got hurt last year, but they went from that 4 to really having CeeDee and Gallup, who had a touchdown a couple weeks ago, but he's still coming back from that ACL. He's only two games back.
He's only got 4 catches as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, Gallup's
tough, though. Gallup's a good player, and I think he's still getting his legs under him.
Yeah, clearly. He hasn't really been – I mean, he had that great season in 19, like 1,200 yards. Kind of going downhill a little bit each year, obviously the injury. But I just – yeah. CeeDee Lamb is going to be – he might get half their targets Sunday.
Yeah, he gets a lot. I didn't mention him, but Dalton Schultz, too, is a pretty good tight end.
Yeah.
Would you travel Slay? Is that easy?
I would.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Next one is Cowboys running attack against the Eagles run defense. We saw them get a little leaky last week. We saw that in week 1, too, against Detroit. This is a good running attack. I know Zeke isn't what he used to be, but between him and Tony Pollard, that's a pretty good unit. And their offensive line is not nearly as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Right. That's been a big surprise. Zeke looks like he's slowing down, but he's still tough
for the last few years.
The way they use Pollard, I mean, he doesn't get that many carries, but he's a big play guy. Gets like 8 carries a game. Zeke still carries the big workload. I could see them flipping that in this game because I think the Eagles' run defense is prone to giving up some big plays.
Mm-hmm.
Their tackling has not been good for much of the season. I think they've had 3 games with at least 10 missed tackles.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if the carries go a little more toward Pollard Sunday, thinking it's going to be the kind of game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think points and yards and big plays are going to be at a premium. You have two really good defenses. And Dallas, let's be honest, Dallas does not have a high-powered offense. They win with the running game and defense. And I could see Pollard having a big game Sunday.
Yeah, I could see that. I really think the Eagles in this game, that 5-man front on first downs is going to be huge. The Cowboys want to obviously make it a second and manageable, and they're kind of a conservative offense right now without Dak Prescott. So the run attack becomes huge. And that's where you need the middle of that defense: Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave. Get them on the ground and don't let yourself get into these second and manageables, third and shorts, because that's the way the Cowboys will stay on the field. They'll keep your offense off the field, and they'll kind of take these long drives.
What did Gannon say Tuesday, that they don't live in the world of second and long or something like that?
Yeah, they really don't. They're pretty. They're gaining like 5.6 yards on first down, which is good. I mean, they're on a ton of teams doing it better. That's top third of the league. Eagles are 5.7, and the Eagles have been a very good offense. So it tells you that the Cowboys are doing something right on first down.
Yeah, and when the Eagles have been good against the run, it's really when they've built up big leads. The Vikings, Washington, and teams stopped running against them. Like Washington had to stop running, but they were averaging over 5 yards a pop.
Well, that was part of the problem in Detroit, was that they didn't stop running when they got down.
Right. Eagles are allowing 5 yards a pop, which over a full season would be the worst in franchise history, which is crazy. That's got to get better. Yeah.
The last matchup I have here
Dallas might run it 40 times.
Well, that kind of feeds into the last matchup here is Cooper Rush against the Eagles defense. He is not doing anything spectacular. He's taking care of the football. They're being pretty conservative offensively. The one area he has excelled in, and it makes sense, is in the play action game. He's been much better working off play action, and I'd expect them to do that in this game too. Yeah,
the numbers aren't. In LA, he completed 10 passes for 100 yards. But yeah,
he's not going to make mistakes.
He's not going to make mistakes. He's really not going to make big plays.
And if he does make a mistake, you better capitalize on it, because it might be the only one you get.
Yeah, hasn't thrown an interception. He's thrown 118 passes.
Hasn't lost a fumble.
He's not completing a high percent. He's completing 61% of his passes, which for a quarterback that doesn't run is pretty low.
He's up to 70 on play action.
Yeah, that's interesting. 4 touchdowns in 5 games. He's been 4.5 games, I guess. It's not a lot of touchdowns. It's the kind of offense that you look at and you're like, how are they scoring? But they grind it out.
They're not scoring a ton.
They're not good on third down.
Yeah.
But how are they scoring, period? They're one of the worst on third down. I think they're at like 31%. So I just can't picture Cooper Rush making a ton of plays against this defense. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. And it's funny. There have been so many people talking about, when Dak is ready and the Cowboys are still winning, should they go back to Dak? Yes, they should go back to Dak.
Yeah.
And then that's not taking anything away from Cooper Rush, but it's a different offense with him. And it's not a particularly good one. It's an efficient one, but it's not high-powered.
Your ceiling is so much lower.
Yeah, Dak's just a better player.
Just a better player.
And you paid him. So.
Yeah. And it's not like Cooper Rush is a kid either. Was he 29?
Yeah, he's bounced around a little bit. He was with Dallas and he was with the Giants for a year.
So
you know what's funny? The Giants cut Cooper Rush to make room for Clayton Thorson.
Yeah, that's why they were the Giants for a lot of years. Rush has only been sacked 7 times in 4.5 games, so he's not making mistakes, and he's making plays when he has to. He hasn't thrown for more than 235. His 4 starts, he's thrown for about an average of, let's do some quick math here, like 670, 770, like 185 yards. No big plays, no plays over 50, no plays of 50 yards. It's a anachronistic way of playing football.
Mm-hmm.
So run the ball, play defense, and don't make mistakes.
But it's working for them, and
it's
not going to be easy on Sunday.
It won't be. Yeah. It won't be. And they do a few things, and they do them really well. Does that end the matchup portion of our show?
It does.
Yeah. Good job on the matchups. I enjoy that. Dave does that every week, so you look for that on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store at NissanUSA.com today.
All right, Rube, I want to talk about Jordan Davis a little bit.
Always a good topic.
Yeah. He's playing better, and he's going to have a big role in this game, you think?
You would think so, yeah. And I like the way they're using him. At first, you were like, why isn't he playing anymore? But yeah, I think all those guys, I think the rotation's working well.
Mm-hmm.
They're all playing well. They're all healthy for the most part. And you can just see him getting better and better. And he starts to show up. I mean, I think he had a good rush Sunday.
He's starting to flash
more
and more.
Tackle for loss in the Jacksonville game. Yeah, you start to see him show up. And, I mean, he's going to be fun to watch.
He already is fun to watch. And there's some things like you rewatch him and you go, oh, all right. I was talking to Milton Williams today about him. And I said, what's it like in the film room when you're with your teammates and put a Jordan Davis play up there? And he gave one of those looks at me like, well, you see it, right? Yeah, he's fun to watch. And we're seeing him get to the next levels, right? Jason Kelce mentioned it today that even, a great nose tackle with a great bull rush, eventually most centers can stop it with leverage and with technique. You can stop a great bull rush. What separates those guys is having something to work off of that. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that now from Jordan, the understanding that, he's quick enough and agile enough to show a bull, set everything up with that bull, which he has to do when you're 340 pounds, but then the athleticism to not need it, and that's what makes him really fun.
Yeah, and he was coached really well. He's prepared really well for this level. SEC is not far off from the NFL. It's a little bit off, but
it's a lot off.
It's a lot off. It's amazing having Kelce in the locker room, and this is the first time with these last few weeks we've been in the locker room since 2019. It's crazy to think about. Kelce's like, I know I'm a little off topic here, but he's like an oracle in the back there in the back of the locker room. Like the Oracle at Delphi or something. You can just go back there and like ask him about anything. And he'll just sit there for a second and it looks like he's ignoring you. And then he'll just spout off like 9 minutes of like the deepest, most insightful analysis you've ever heard about anything. It's like, Jason, what do you think about, what do you think about climate issues in the Ivory Coast? Just he's, brilliant guy. And, it was fun watching those matchups when he worked against Jordan in training camp.
Yeah, didn't get a ton of them.
Got some.
Yeah, Jason missed so much time.
Yeah,
with an injury, but Jordan Davis is really coming on. And I asked him what's the difference now between week 6 Jordan and week 1 Jordan? Without hesitation, he's like confidence. He's been able to prove to himself over the first 5 games of the season that he can do this, and he's really good at it. And we're seeing more and more of it. I think we've really just scratched the surface with how good he can be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think by year 3, he's going to be good. Next year, he'll be really good. But I think he's just getting started. And it's interesting. You wrote a good piece about this maybe 3 weeks ago. Just you don't think a guy that big who was, defensive player of the year in college. I guess he got one of the 2 defensive player of the year awards. Played on the greatest defense ever assembled in college football, would have confidence crisis here and there. And he has, and he does. And he's still a rookie who's played 5 games in the NFL and is finding his way. And he is going to make huge strides over this next period of time.
I'm curious to see what his play time is like in this game because he had 29 snaps against Arizona. That's his most so far. I wonder if they can push it a little bit. You don't want to push it crazy.
Yeah.
but I think he could probably handle a few more. And in a game like this, where I think they're really going to need him, it'd be nice to not have to sub him as much.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think, I get a lot of tweets from people asking why he's not playing more snaps. And, he's he's such an intriguing player, but this is working. And I think there is some value toward kind of gradually increasing it.
And they're still using him the way you'd expect. They're using him as a nose in that bear front, and they haven't really used him much as just like a defensive tackle in that 4-man front, which is kind of like their other defense, right? They don't use him in that.
Right.
I think they've used him like a handful of times.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're starting to see. The Eagles only defended 47 snaps in the Arizona game, in the Jacksonville game. So he only had 17, but percentage-wise,
Yeah.
That's still 36%. And then Sunday against Arizona, he was 42%, which is the highest. So the opener against Detroit is 32, and so it's going up.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the high 40s by the end of the year, at 45 to 50 range, percentage-wise. I
think it's going to depend on how many snaps. So
Fletch played a lot of snaps.
Huh?
Fletch played a ton of snaps Sunday.
Yeah.
48 out of 69. That's by far his highest.
Yeah.
This year.
I think with Davis, it's at times less about percentage than it is about overall.
That's fair.
Snaps.
That's fair. I haven't really seen. I don't know. Tell me if you have you seen any signs of him being gassed as those snaps add up?
Not anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Like we've seen at times. Honestly, we've seen the opposite. We've seen them be kind of caught in that 4-man front, and a team will go hurry up to keep those guys out there. I haven't really noticed him look gassed. And he's a rallier to the football, too. It's like, him and Milton, one of the things that really impressed me watching them in college was that they are never giving up on a play. It's, it can be 20 yards downfield, and they're in the frame of the shot because they're rallying to the football. And Jordan does that. And there were some flash plays like that at Georgia that showed up on his highlight reels because it is funny to see a 340-pound dude 10 yards downfield making plays. But even when he's not making the tackle, he's getting there.
Yeah.
And he's giving effort. And that's why they rotate, right? Is so they can give max effort on all those plays and cycle those guys through. In that effort department, he's there.
Mm-hmm. Great kid, too.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoyed talking football with him.
Yeah. This isn't on our script here, but I had a chance to talk to CJ Gardner-Johnson a little bit on Wednesday. What a different dude he is. He's really funny. He's brash, and he's everything you thought he was based on his reputation. But he seems to fit in well here.
And he's another one who I think each week you're seeing. He was really put in a very difficult position when he got here.
Yeah, he's looking more comfortable now.
I think so.
And that was to be expected, honestly. He got here 11 days before the opener.
And played every snap.
New defense and at a new position. There were going to be some growing pains. I think we've seen that at times with his tackling, with his angles, playing with more depth. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah. I thought Sunday was his best game.
I agree with that. I think his best games are still ahead of him in this defense.
I'm sure they better be. But yeah, I thought you can see that he knows what he's doing. You can see he's going to be a playmaker as he gets more and more comfortable. It's amazing that he's played all but 2 snaps.
Yeah.
He usually played 323 defensive snaps. He's played everyone but 2. Bradbury's played everyone but 2. And Epps has played every snap.
Yep.
And TJ Edwards has played all but 13.
And Slay would be if he hadn't got hurt. Like he's an every down player, but
right.
Yeah.
Right. So snap counts, there's nothing as exciting as when snap counts come out.
You know how I feel about it.
I just don't understand why they can't have them the night of the game. Why does it take till the next day? Kind of bothers me.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah. Cowboy killers.
Yeah.
This is fun. You've been putting together a list of Eagles who have really killed the Cowboys over the years. I know some of them. You were kind of talking about it. Do you want to fill me in on a few more?
Yeah, let's do. I'll go give you 3 of them, and the piece will be in on the site Friday morning. Deshaun
It
Jackson.
was Sunday.
Oh, is it Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe it's Friday.
The piece will be
this weekend.
Posted Sunday.
Yeah, it might be Friday.
All right, we haven't done it, but yes, in the next 3 days. Deshaun Jackson, his numbers are insane. So his second career game, he had 6 for 110 against the Cowboys down at Texas Stadium. And then it was just he just did that every game. He had 1,330 career yards against the Cowboys. Not all with the Eagles, but close to that. Career average was 21.8 yards a catch against Dallas on 61 catches.
You would think that average would be like a guy who played a team once, right?
Right.
He just had one big catch.
Right. Only 2 players have had more yards against Dallas than Deshaun, Charlie Taylor and Art Monk, who are both Hall of Famers. And one of them was my teammate in high school gym class lacrosse, Art Monk. He had 9 career catches of 40 yards or more against Dallas. The numbers are just
insane.
Nuts. His biggest game ever was that 210-yard game down at AT&T Stadium with Michael Vick as his QB. So Deshaun is on there. An interesting one to me is Andy Harmon, and I didn't realize this, and thank God for StatHead, or I wouldn't have. Andy Harmon was a really good interior lineman in the mid-'90s, had a short career. He had a lot of injuries, but
got overshadowed, right, by teammates?
Well, now that most of those guys were gone by the time he
Okay.
blossomed. He was drafted in 91. I believe his first year as a starter was 93 or 92 or 93. But those guys were all leaving. Reggie was gone. Clyde, Seth were gone. But Harmon had 39 and a half career sacks, had 2 double-digit seasons as a defensive tackle. 8 of his 39 sacks were against Dallas. No interior lineman has more against the Cowboys ever. And
really?
Darwin Walker is second with 7.
Wow.
And Red Hall's third with 6.5, 4.5 with the Eagles, and 2 with 49ers, I think he started with. So Andy Harmon, who's I think one of the more underrated players in Eagles history, is on there. I'll give you one more. Wes Hopkins, one of my favorite guys, one of my favorite players. Sadly, the late Wes Hopkins. Nobody in history had more interceptions against the Cowboys than Wes Hopkins.
Wow. How many?
9. What's that?
How many?
9.
9.
9 picks against.
How many games?
9 picks in. I believe it was 17 games he played against Dallas. So he averaged a pick every other game. Terry Kennard, the safety from the Giants, also had 9. But the funny thing is, he didn't have an interception in his first 3 games against Dallas, and then he had 9 in his next 11. Just a Dallas killer. So he one of only 2 players with 3 or more multi-interception games against Dallas. The other one's a Hall of Famer, Roger Worley. Incredible numbers for Wes. Wes was such a good player, physical. SMU second-round pick. Suffered an ACL in the middle of his career, in the prime of his career, missed most of 2 years. It's an injury that would, sod on you for a year now, but he missed 2 years and came back and was as good as ever. One of my favorites. So that'll be up soon, and it's a lot of fun.
I went back through your Eagles Cowboys moments piece from a few years ago.
Yeah.
The one that always stands out to me is that 44-6 game.
The 2 fumble returns.
Yeah.
Chris Clemens and Jose Johansson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Doc more about – it's funny. I remember Doc more than I do the returns.
Did Doc force both of them?
I think so.
I think it was Marion Barber and one was Romo, I believe.
I remember the Marion Barber one.
The funny thing was the first one happened. I think they were both in the second quarter. I believe they were both in the same quarter, I think.
I don't remember that.
And that was the last game where the Eagles had to beat Dallas. Like, all these things had to happen to get the Eagles in the playoffs.
What a day. Maybe one of the most electric days in Eagles history.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders had to upset Tampa. I don't remember all the things that had to happen, but everything happened, and all the Eagles had to do was beat Dallas. And it was
they put an exclamation
44-6. But I remember, so the first fumble return, and they were both down the right sideline.
Mm-hmm.
Both fumbles were deep in Eagles territory in the same place, and then I ran to get a cup of water, and I see the same play. I thought it was a replay, and then they announced, fumble return, Jose Johansson. was like, I thought it was the same play. I'm just looking at the screen. But yeah, that was
Third quarter, Ben said.
unforgettable day. I was doing radio pregame, and the Eagles play was a 4:00 game, and all the other stuff that had to happen was at 1:00.
Mhm.
And so we're walking across the street because we did the pregame back then right in front of our building, right in front of the Wells Fargo Center, which was at the time something else. I don't know what it was called back then. And that was 06, I believe. It was 06, right? And that was 08. It was
later than 06.
It was 08. Yeah, my bad. But the something happened. It was 08. So Rashad Baker had an interception off Jeff Garcia in that Raiders-Bucks game. Rashad Baker is from Woodrow Wilson High School in South Jersey and was with the Eagles the next summer, by the way. But I won't tell you about his track career. But we're walking across Broad Street, and we hear this massive roar coming from the stadium, coming from the lake. And they were showing the game, and they showed Jeff Garcia, of all people, who 2 years earlier had taken the Eagles to the playoffs, throwing that interception. And it clinched the Raiders beating the Bucks and clinched giving the Eagles control of their density. as you know, you are my density. And it was maybe the most fascinating and unpredictable and unbelievable day in Eagles history that I've ever experienced, because so many things had to happen and they were all so dramatic. But yeah, that was Eagles Cowboys is I
wonder if the league would let that. A lot of times the league now wants those games to line up at the same time.
But the thing was, like, they didn't ostensibly affect the Eagles. Like, there were so many of them, like, I don't know if you could have played them all at the same time. Yeah, that's probably
true, yeah.
Like, because like the Raiders-Bucks might have affected another team that was playing at one. Like it was it was just so convoluted. Somebody could do a book just about the Eagles-Cowboys rivalry and all I think they've played 126 times now. So many fascinating things, from the pickle juice game and, you know, the two playoff games down there, 92 and 95, and the back-to-back games in 09 when the Eagles got crushed 6 days apart in the same stadium. I think that's when Donovan played the banjo. I guess that was his last game as an Eagle. It's been an incredible rivalry, and something crazy is going to happen Sunday, and we will be right back here to tell you about it.
Yeah, we will. Post-game pod will be very late on early Monday morning, but we will get one out
Monday morning
for sure. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. Rube, real quick, prediction on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Eagles, and I just don't think the Cowboys can score a whole lot of points Sunday.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Eagles can score a whole lot of points, but I don't think they need to. I think, what did I pick? 23-16, somewhere in there, 23-17. That's my ballpark. I don't know if you have that in front of you. I don't remember my score.
24-19.
24-19. So
a lot of field goals for the Cowboys.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't know what the over-under is, but I would take the under unless it's like 30. But yeah, it's going to be.
I'm leaning with you. I'm picking the Eagles in this one. I'm going to pick them until they lose. And maybe if the Cowboys had Dak, it's a different story. They don't. And I know that they're winning with Cooper Rush, but I think that's going to end on Sunday night.
I do think the Eagles will need to play better than they have the last 2 weeks. A more complete game. So I'm going to really put together a 60-minute game. But I do think they'll come out of it with a win. Going to the bye 6-0 would be amazing.
It would be. All right. For Rube, Dave, we'll talk to you next time. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan.